Today I'm showing you how I made this Neapolitan inspired pizza. For the bulk of the dough, you're going to need 4 things. Cold water, flour, I recommend Caputo flour, salt, and any kind of yeast. I'm using fresh organic yeast here, but I've had great success with dry yeast as well. Now, to get the right amount, I always use an app called Pizzapp. It's simple and does the job. The one thing to consider is the amount of water, the hydration of the dough. If you're new to making pizza dough, I wouldn't go any higher than 62%. A wet dough is way harder to work with than a dry dough, so try to stick to the lower end.
The True Neapolitan Pizza Association says that an authentic Neapolitan pizza should have a dough hydration between 55.5 and 62.5%. So, even though what we're making today can't be called an authentic Neapolitan pizza, we'll go with 62%.
Alright, hydration out of the way. Now we need to decide on how long we want the dough to ferment. I'm going for 44 hours cold fermented with about 4 hours room temperature here. So it's exactly 2 days from now with the last 4 hours at room temperature. For dough size, I typically go with 280 grams per dough ball. I always lose a bit of dough in the process, and then this gives me a medium-sized pizza. Let's combine the amounts of ingredients that the app told us to do. First thing, combine salt and water. Now pour some of the flour into the bowl. You don't want to mix the yeast and salt directly, so we add the flour to add a barrier between them. Once it's combined, you can add the rest of the flour. For this purpose, I'm using a stand mixer. You can totally do this by hand. I just like to combine the wet ingredients in a stand mixer and finish kneading the dough by hand. Now all you need is to get the right feel of the dough. With a stand mixer, I tend to give it 5-ish minutes on the low setting to combine. Then I take the dough out and give it 5 minutes of kneading by hand until it has a perfect soft surface and the dough feels springy, kind of like Play-Doh. By hand, this will take about 15 minutes. Use no extra flour at any point. This will ruin the hydration level of the dough. I transfer the dough to a sealed container, put on the lid, put it in the fridge, and wait for 2 days. It's 2 days later. Out of the fridge and let it rest for 3 hours. Take it out of the container and weigh it. Divide this by how many pizzas you're going to make and weigh each dough ball so they're equal in size. I like to be precise. Now to shape the dough, I gently fold it in so that I make a ball. I put these into a container with a little bit of semolina flour and brush them lightly with olive oil. Now these are going to rest for the final hour. In the meantime, we're going to prepare our mozzarella. If you can get it, buffalo mozzarella is by far the best thing to get. I cut these up into small pieces so they're easy to distribute and dry them with paper towels so the pizza doesn't get too wet. For the tomato sauce, I'm using multi-peeled tomatoes. Important that they are peeled and not crushed. We want to squeeze these by hand as this gives us just the right texture. Add in some fresh basil, pepper, and salt. And that's it. Fire up your oven. The Unicoda 16 takes about 20 minutes for the stone to get to 450 degrees. And if you're using a home oven, turn it on now as high as it can go. And now we make pizzas. Take your dough ball and flip it into semolina flour. This type of flour is more coarse and it will help much better against stickiness than regular flour. Now we push out the air from the inside and out to form the crust. Flip it and do it again. And now, gently using your hands, you stretch out the dough. Once we're happy with the size, we sprinkle a bit of semolina flour on the workbench under our pizza. Add the tomato sauce from the inside and outwards. A little bit of Parmigiano Reggiano, our mozzarella, a little bit semolina on the peel, and now with confidence, scoop up the pizza on the peel. Do the final stretching of the pizza. And I'm using a perforated peel so that I can shake off excess flour. This is great if you're just careful. Oh! Okay. No harm done. No harm done. Launch the pizza with confidence. Once launched, I turn down the dial on the Uni to the low setting. Now all we need to do is rotate the pizza every 30 seconds or so to make sure we get an even bake. This looks amazing. Add some fresh basil. All we gotta do now is eat this. And I'll see you next time I cook something.